All right, say a prayer for the speckled trout. I got C-Mac with me, and we're throwing topwater baits. All right, you saw a recent video I shot with John McQueen. He had great success throwing a he dog. I threw a she dog and a matrix mullet, and the fish were knocking it out the water, but not as many connections. But today I brought along the green bone chrome. If you're a regular viewer, you've seen this bait a lot. Hideously ugly, but super productive. And let's hope it is today. C-Mac, what are you throwing?
Throwing a chartreuse and white she dog.
There we go. I'm doubling up on the she dog. Let's hope that's what they want. I checked my shed for a he dog. I didn't have any. Now, C-Mac and I are here after a severe cold front blew all the water out. It kind of recovered just a hair yesterday, but we are at the tail of a falling tide. Really not prime topwater conditions. You really want to fish these flats with an incoming tide, but the winds are going to get extreme later today. So we're taking advantage of this little window to see if we can get some bites on top on this flat. We really should be in the marsh targeting redfish and bass, but these trophy trout are difficult to pass up if you have even a chance. Ooh, 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 right here by the boat. Damn it. That was a good fish. Boy, if this wind would stay like this, today would be nice. Once that tide turns, my confidence level up here is going to go a lot higher.
Jeez. That was phenomenal. There he is. Oh, did he pull off? You still got him?
Dude, if I got him, nope, came off. That was a good fish too. Dude, that was a good fish. That was an angry hit too. That was a good hit.
There he is.
Not big, not the fish I lost. Not the fish I lost, C-Mac.
Keeper.
Yeah, he's a keeper. Trout number one, broke the ice. Ooh, C-Mac, he missed it?
No, I missed him.
All right. You God.
Another one?
Yep. Another one.
I heard him hit it.
Hit it twice.
Oh,
3 times.
that one blow up on mine.
3 times.
Fish on.
There we go, C-Mac.
Little bitty one, too.
Oh, yeah.
Little feller. Little feller.
He's too little to hit top water.
There's one.
Feel.
Another small one. Nah, he might not be that small.
He didn't come up at all. That's a keeper. Small keeper, but a keeper. I think he's probably 12. I mean, I don't think he's 12 and a half. Get him, C-Mac. C-Mac on the crab trap bite. Is that a keeper? I think he is. He hadn't come up. Yeah, that's a good fish. I mean, that ain't a good fish. It's a keeper. He's a good eater.
Don't you know, found us a little school of fish here.
C-Mac is throwing a limbo slice matrix shad, quarter ounce death grip, looks like.
1/8 ounce.
1/8 ounce death grip. So we drifted this little cove here, got several blow-ups, I don't know, 5 or 6 blow-ups, 1 connection on a small fish. And C-Mac started throwing the cork, and he's put a couple fish in the boat. Nothing to write home about, but we'll take it until that tide switches and starts rising. I know those flats are going to heat up when that's the case, particularly if we can get the sun to stay out, get the water on those flats nice and warm. Those trout will be hitting a little bit later in the morning. But right now we might have to content ourselves to catch them on corks, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Can't complain. Catching a fish here and there.
Yep.
Look at that. As soon as it hit the water.
There you go, C-Mac. Feel like a better fish?
No.
Feels pretty little. It's probably a keeper. He's probably 12. What you think?
Oh, he's about 11.
I don't know if he's 12 or not. Bigger than you thought, isn't he? He's 12.
I mean, I didn't even wiggle the cord.
Threw it on his head. On his head.
Right in his friggin' mouth.
Right in his mouth.
Ow.
Let's go take a boat ride.
All right.
There's a bayou that basically runs back all down here. You got to go up to get to it, though.
All right.
It just looks good on a map.
You get in it?
I mean, we're going to try. So C-Mac and I are basically killing time, waiting for that tide to change and start rising. We push back into the marsh. It's an unfamiliar area to us, and a lot of what we're finding is really shallow water. As you can tell, and as I talked about earlier, water's way, way, way out. Some of the lowest water any of us have seen ever. It's recovered a little bit since then, but it's still really low. So a lot of the stuff that looks good on the map, you can't even access. It's too shallow. This bayou's got about 4.5 feet of depth, but as you can tell, it's pretty wide. It's a pretty big bayou. You'd think it'd be a little deeper than that. So we're just kind of working the banks, throwing corks, and trying to catch some redfish or maybe some speckled trout along these grass edges. With this depth, with that pond at the back, we should catch some fish at that mouth. I definitely like this bayou a lot better than the one we left. Dude, that tide's rising. Look, unless the wind's pushing, but look on the other side. You see it going into there? I think our tide has changed.
That was a trout.
That was a trout, sure was. He hit me on the pop. There's a trout, C-Mac. I don't know if he's gonna make the cut, C-Mac, but he'll hit the tape because I think he's long and skinny. Story of my life. TKO shrimp, Versamax knocker. Another inch, he'll make it.
Another story you like.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow.
That's a good trout, C-Mac. Yeah, that's a good trout. About ripped the rod out of my hands. I mean, you know, good relative to what we've been catching. So the reason we're catching fish here, we finally found a bayou, a little skinny, windy bayou that leads to a pond. That bayou has some depth. Everything we found earlier was pretty shallow. As you can tell, this pond is just drained out, but there's still a little channel running through here. The bayou kind of continues, and these fish obviously have to be concentrated in places like this with that water so far out. Our tide has switched, it has begun to rise, so we let those flats fill up a little bit, and they're gonna try and catch a couple more in topwater. But in the meantime, this is a lot of fun. These fish are scattered, but it's still a whole lot of fun. There he is. C-Mac, I got tons of TKOs if you want one. Not big, but big enough. Let go. There we go. All right, since that water's rising, C-Mac and I have come back to these flats, and actually the water looks way better than it did earlier. It hasn't come up a ton. You can still see a lot of exposed bank up here, but these fish should be filtering onto these flats, and hopefully they'll want some topwater baits. Sticking with the green bone chrome. C-Mac, what you got? Is that a she-dog?
Yeah. White and chartreuse.
White and chartreuse. That's what C-Mac's throwing. C-Mac and I battle wind all day, but man, it's how it's been this year. Just really, really windy. Also battling low water. So the water temp in here earlier was 67, now it's 71. That's really prime, and the water looks a lot better. We should find some trout. Definitely feeling optimistic. I definitely don't do this as much as I used to, but back in the day, I did it every spring, really starting in about early February, stretching through the end of April. And the three ingredients I always look for were grass, mullet, and clean water. We definitely got grass in here. Water looks pretty good, a lot better than it did earlier. And we saw a ton of mullet earlier. Now, I haven't seen any since we got back in here, but I'm guessing there will be some. Come on, trout. Give us a sign. Show us you're thinking about us.
I mean, I got a little mullet colored mirror bean I might put on another rod and just throw and see, you know?
Yeah, I got a stick bait tied on, a little jerk bait. I mean, I might try that. I'm sure it'll get fish. You want to catch those 23s? Not that you can't catch it on a mirror bean or a jerk bait, but I think your chances are best with these tops. I mean, you know, we come through here with corks and catch a few, like trying to get better quality. There he is. I don't know, C-Mac.
You stay buttoned up?
Yeah, he's still on. He doesn't feel like a giant, but he hasn't come up yet. I got my drag super loose.
Deep fish. Boy, I love when they come up brown like that.
Yeah.
In this fresh water. Nice.
That's a good fish. That's a good fish. There we go. He's bleeding like a stuck pig. I don't know why he's bleeding so bad. There's nothing in his gills. Look at that. Green bone chrome. Man, he's bleeding like a pig, but I really don't want to keep him. I'm gonna put him in this net for a minute.
What happened?
My net broke. All right, I'm gonna stick a tag in this fish. Send him on his way. All right, dude. There you go. To me, that makes the whole day worth it. There is nothing at all like catching them on these big topwater plugs. Man, it's just so much fun. That fish was about 18 inches. Really nice fish, not a giant, but chunky, healthy fish. C-Mac's got him one. C-Mac's got one. How's he feel, C-Mac? Big? C-Mac says big. Let's see.
He's not a giant, but I mean, he's a fish.
Well, you know what? Our net is busted.
No, he ain't that big.
Well, I'm gonna net him. You want me to net him?
No.
No? You gonna swing him? That's a good fish, C-Mac. Let me get your picture.
That hook wasn't in there great.
All right, C-Mac. You might be wearing that fish permanently. Yeah, I keep my drag so loose, it's so hard for me to tell. I mean, you can tell when they're like really little, but 15 to 20 inches, it's hard to tell the difference.
So 8 blow-ups on the she-dog and nothing. First blow-up on the skittle walk on our land. So
Yep.
I don't know, coincidence or what?
So C-Mac made a switch to a skitter walk, and not his first cast, but his first blow up, he landed that fish. Now this is right in the same area where I just caught that other one. So there might be a few fish here. Competition factor might be making them feed a little more aggressively. Well, we'll see. I'm sticking with the green bone chrome. Although with this cloud cover, I really do like black and chartreuse. That's my favorite cloudy weather bait. If I don't have any follow through from that other fish, I'll definitely make that change. Yeah, if you haven't done a lot of this topwater fishing, you really have to cover some ground. I mean, there are definitely days where you can catch a limit doing this, but that's not really the goal. The goal is to catch bigger fish. And so a lot of times you go quite a while. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness.
Blow up?
Yeah, it's serious. A lot. Oh, there he is. He's not big, C-Mac. A lot of times you go quite a while between bites. And every now and then you get one of these little guys who gets really, really aggressive. Look at this. What the heck are you doing, dude? That's like an 11-inch fish. Let that be a lesson to you. Grunting male, full of testosterone. So long, sucker. Patience is your friend when you're fishing topwater baits. And if you do it enough, your patience will definitely get rewarded. Find those 3 ingredients: clean water, grass, and mullet. Oh, come on. Come on. Oh, look at that.
Good fish?
He's all up in the trolling mode. He swam right into the trolling motor. He's not big. He's a keeper for sure. You weren't very smart. I tell you what, C-Mac, I guarantee if we came back here and fished this point with course, we'd kill him. There's definitely some fish here. Well, I tell you, it's amazing what a difference that rising tide makes. Night and day.
Lifts all boats.
Rising tide lifts all boats, indeed. It's hard for me not to throw topwater when they're hitting topwater, but I'm gonna make a couple casts with this jerk bait.
I think it's
Oh, first cast. Look at that, first cast. See, Mac, this feels like a pretty decent fish.
A bit more nicer.
Yeah, that's not a bad fish. Here, since it's short-handled. He's probably not net worthy, but there you go. That's a good fish. Nothing wrong with him. About a 17-incher, really, really pretty fish. We're gonna put a tag in him, I think. All right, I made a change to a black and chartreuse sheet dog. I love fishing this color on cloudy days. I feel like it contrasts well against that white sky. We'll see if it delivers a few fish. C-Mac is still throwing that red and white skitter walk.
Although, Todd, I am a very big fan of the black and chartreuse sheet dog.
Yes, C-Mac loves this bait.
Very big fan.
Come on, we gotta get 1 over 20 before we leave. 1 over 20. Oh, there we go. Oh. That's a good fish. Let's hope we land him. That's a good fish. Oh, I feel it coming through the grass.
Really, he's not a giant. There he is. Oh, big call.
He's not as big as I thought.
Giant.
Not as big as I thought.
He's a good one, though.
He's a good one.
He's a good one, though.
Well, he hooked himself well, that's for sure. Sorry, buddy. Got him, C-Mac? How's he feel?
He feels good. He's not a giant, but he's a good one.
He's good?
Doubt it.
Has he come up yet?
He came up at first.
You gonna hoist him, huh? Yeah.
Keep that one.
Yeah, let's keep him. Dude, this seldom happens. It gets calmer as the day goes on. Whew, getting natty. All right, as you can see, the wind has absolutely died. Turned out to be an incredibly awesome day. Supposed to be really windy this afternoon. It's now 1 o'clock and it's almost slick. And as you know, when it gets slick in the month of April, or any time in the spring in South Louisiana, the gnats come out. So it's time to introduce C-Mac to the wonderful world of marsh romance. It's gonna change his life. You wanna hit?
Yeah, I'm gonna get one in a second.
It works wonders, dude. It really does. I'm a big believer.
The amber romance.
I mean, you know, that works too. I find this stuff works a little better though.
A little bit more powerful scent.
Yeah, it's a more powerful scent, less feminine. Night and day difference. Oh, C-Mac. Did he get it? Did he get it?
Nope.
Oh, goodness. That was a good hit. That was a good fish.
Good fish.
Oh, goodness.
God dang, dude.
Dude, I'd love to, you know, when like that fish that, oh.
Ah, dang it, I lost my bait. It cut me off, Todd.
Nope.
Nope, it floated back up. Look.
C-Mac, I got a pig.
Do you?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. He broke the line. That was a big fish, too. Well, when we land yours, we gotta go get my bait.
Okay, no problem. Just keep an eye on it. This fish is nowhere near done. Let's see if we can net him though. You ready?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good fish. That's a good fish. On the black and chartreuse. That's a good fish, man. That is a good fish. That's what I came for. It ain't a 23, but I wanted something meaty. I ain't gonna tag this one. I'm just gonna let him go.
Big fish, man.
Oh, man. All right, I'm gonna let you go. There you go. All right.
Yep.
You feisty. Yeah, that fish buried that topwater bait. Like he wanted it. That's how he's supposed to hit. toilet bowl flushing. All right, C-Mac, obviously every time we come out here, it's a new adventure. That's what makes this place so magical. What do you feel like today kind of demonstrated about what's going on here at Mardi Gras Pass?
Well, you know, Todd, you and I have fished around Mardi Gras Pass several times together. I think there's several videos out there that we fished and tried to demonstrate what the fishing is like in that area. Today, we're about 12 miles away from Mardi Gras Pass. Last year, we were about 9 miles away from Mardi Gras Pass. The Mississippi River is high right now. It's over 12 feet in New Orleans. But I think it shows that there are still saltwater fish around here, what people consider saltwater fish. And I think what you and I are going to try to do over the next year is keep coming back to this side of the river, to areas that get a lot of fresh water from the Mississippi River, to help maybe demystify a little bit about what fishing a diversion means. I think there's this notion out there that diversions are this grand experiment that nobody's ever seen before. And the reality is there are a lot of places in Louisiana that people fish all the time that behave just like Barataria Bay will, for instance, with a diversion. If you fish Western Terrebonne Parish, for instance, you're fishing an area that's getting a ton of water out of the Atchafalaya River, the Intracoastal Canal, the Wax Lake Outlet. You're getting a lot more water in that area than you will from, say, the Mid-Barataria diversion in Barataria Bay. If you fish this side of the river, where you've got Mardi Gras Pass at 20,000+ CFS, and then you've got down at Buras, you've got a couple of passes that have opened up that are probably a combined 30 to 40,000 cubic feet per second, and then you've got Baptiste Colette, which is 200,000 feet per second. You got a lot of fresh water coming into this basin, and it's still a great place to catch speckled trout. It's still a great place to catch redfish. The diversity of your fish species goes up. The kind of habitat that you deal with when you get fresh water in an area changes, but I think it changes for the better. And I think there's a lot of fear and sort of misunderstanding of what bringing fresh water and sediment back into an area is going to do to the fishing. Certainly makes it a more seasonal fishery, but again, we're here with the Mississippi River well into flood stage, and we're about 12 miles from Mardi Gras Pass, and we're catching speckled trout. You know, you look at the areas like Lake Pontchartrain, and people curse the Bonnie Carey spillway, and rightly so to a certain degree. I mean, that's an unnatural way of bringing fresh water into that system. But you know, you look at the Bonnie Carey, you look at what happens to the lake and the areas around the lake when the spillway is running, but you don't take into consideration that 3 or 4 months later, the reason there are so many fish in there is because that fresh water came into the system, and because it supercharged the life in there. It caused a real big uptake in the number of pogies, the number of mullet, shrimp. It kept the grass beds alive, which is the nursery ground for those fish. And you know, I think the bottom line is, this is the mouth of the Mississippi River. This is the bottom end of the largest river in North America. The unnatural state of this area is for places to not have the Mississippi River in it. The natural state is the river having influence over this area. And if you look at what happened to the Barataria Bay during Hurricane Ida, you're talking about over 100 square miles of land, a lot of it just heavily organic material that got washed away and displaced and moved around because you didn't have solid sediment sources underneath that marsh, and it made it more susceptible to the erosion and to the wave action, to the tidal surge that came in from that hurricane. We may see this year a little bit of an uptick in speckled trout productivity in Barataria Bay, because the hurricane came in and it washed a lot of nutrients out of that marsh, and it's going to filter out into the bay. But in the long run, you're going to see a very steep decline in the productivity because the habitat is gone. Barataria Bay right now, you know, you're talking about an area that's about 750, 800 square miles. When you lose 1/8 of that in one event, it can't help but have a detrimental impact on your fishery. Something has to bring that habitat back, or else you're going to continue to see what, you know, a real precipitous decline in the productivity of that system. Here on the east side of the river, yeah, you've got to play the river. You've got to look out for the places where the fresh water is inundated in those areas and the water's real dirty and it's going to move the fish around. But in the long run, the productivity of this area has been much more sustainable than what we're seeing in the Barataria Basin.